Guys, we are right at noon here, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Just have a couple of people to let in. And if you are coming in, you're just going to get a quick note about this call being recorded so we can send out the replay later. I know there's a lot of you that can't make the time specifically, but the replay will be coming out later. So if you're here and watching on the replay, great job making the time for yourself to do this today. And I really want to just start by saying that I've hosted webinars on this topic in the past, but I've actually had a little bit of a shift in my thinking, just at least in terms of what those 5 things actually are and the things that are really important. It's just coming from a place of having worked with a ton of clients and really seeing what is most helpful for them and what is most resonating with them. That's really where that shift came from. So I'm kind of lit up today about presenting this to you. And I hope that you guys are too. So, just to kind of get started here, losing weight is my passion, and helping people to do that is really my passion. This is something that is so hard, and here's why. So, it requires you to rethink and change big parts of your lifestyle and your mindset and make good decisions in an environment, nationally, even globally, that really doesn't support good health. And unhealthy decisions are actually pretty normal, which is scary to think about. So just take a second to think about what's kind of normal behavior, eating behaviors, exercise behaviors, things like that. Some of the notions that you carry around that, just in your family and friend group. And we can really broaden this out a little bit and say, just looking at the ads that are on your Facebook feed or on commercials and things like that, it's all fast food and the latest burger and the latest shake. And we get combos and burgers 2 for $1, budget friendly, all of these other things. Car dealerships are requiring us to buy new cars and have the latest and greatest. And that usually means that we're not just, parking somewhere with our crappy car and running the errands around town to save gas, right? All these little things. And really, it takes a lot more effort to be healthy than it ever has before. Everything is convenient. We don't even have to go to the grocery store anymore. It can come right to you, which definitely can be helpful, but it's really lessening our activity and our movement naturally, and it's really decreasing our health in the process as well. But that is why I'm happy to see you guys here, committed to making some time today just to focus on your health. It's important, and really very few people are actually doing that. So if you're not sure if you're in the right place, here's how to know. Maybe you've just been really trying hard to lose weight in the past few months. I've had a lot of clients come to me recently saying, I've just been stuck. I've actually been trying really hard. I don't really know what I'm doing wrong. They'll see some success sometimes for a little bit and then backtrack and yo-yo, losing the same 5, 10 pounds over and over and over again. And it can be really frustrating to be in that situation and not to be able to do these things consistently. And a lot of times I work with a lot of parents, especially with younger kids, who just have such a huge obligation outside of themselves and managing a family and a household and a career in a lot of cases. There really leaves little time to focus on the things that you need to stay healthy for yourself. And most mothers, I would say, being one of them, I've seen this as well, is it's very easy to put everybody else's needs before your own. And at the end of the day, there's just no time and energy left for yourself, right? And if you just want to be better about things, you want to feel better about yourself, you're just getting back into short season and you're realizing nothing is really fitting and you're just like, what do I do now? Like, just help me. I need that, right? That is how you know you're in the right place. And I'm glad you're here. So here's what we're going to cover for today. We're going to talk about one overarching thing that is required to lose weight. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. We're going to be talking about exercise. We're going to be talking about nutrition and some of the logistics behind weight loss as a whole. But ultimately, what we're going to do is really figure out this mindset issue that you've got that's blocking you from getting started, that's keeping you from trying something different if you've tried and failed and tried and failed. And ultimately, figuring out how to do this in a way that is sustainable so that You can just make changes to your lifestyle that you enjoy. And that will lend you the results. And it's going to be something that you don't ever have to be on and off a diet for. Ultimately, I want to see the women that I work with never talk to me again. That makes sense, right? I want to get them in a place where they know exactly what they need to be doing. They're good. They know exactly how they're going to carry this on going forward as well. And once they lose the weight and they do keep it off, a lot of them do graduate, and then they come to me once in a while for just a refresher and things like that. But ultimately, they're building the skills necessary to do this on their own and stand on their own long term. Okay. And I know I have a couple of first weekers here from my 12-week program on my roster, not currently here, but I'm excited for you guys to see exactly what the overarching goal of the program is. As we're getting started, it's a really good time just to kind of get motivated as you're here in the first one. All right. So what we're going to do today is talk about the steps that I'm using every day in this program to help people lose up to 20 pounds in less than 3 months. Pretty reasonable goal. I'd say a lot of the people that I work with do reach this and actually exceed this as well. So it's really not unreasonable, which is awesome, right? Okay, so here's the deal. You may have been discounting yourself and giving yourself a break, saying, you know what, things are just too busy right now. I don't have time to really focus on myself. But that is a mindset issue. Having a family, having a career, having a busy life doesn't mean that you have to put yourself second, right? It just means that you need to rearrange things in order to fit yourself in there as well. Okay. If you can get this mindset right and have the strong vision and belief of what's possible, it's going to make it very easy. I shouldn't say very easy. It's going to make it possible to follow through. You're going to have those days where you don't want to, but if you are working through these mindset issues, you're definitely going to be able to follow through more regularly. And here's how you know you have this mindset issue, right? No matter how motivated you are, you can just not follow through long term. And this really has a lot to do with the logistics of the plan failing you, right? You're trying to do too much all at once and all of these other things that just don't jive with the lifestyle that you have. Or maybe you're just losing interest because the results are kind of slow. You're not really enjoying the foods that you're eating. You hate exercising and you want to be able to cheat. And you ultimately cannot stick to the diet because you have to stick to something in order for it to work, right? And then you struggle with the plan because it's just not working anyway, right? Those have all happened to me in particular and to all of the women that I've worked with. And you do a little bit of daydreaming sometimes about this, like, oh, if I could just, have all my meals planned for me, if I had a chef, if I had a personal trainer, if I just had a little bit more self-discipline, all of these things, obviously that would be the best case scenario, but most of us cannot afford to have these things. It doesn't make sense realistically. And ultimately, there's still a lot of mindset work that needs to be done to make these things work for you, right? So even if you are in a position to have a personal chef and have a personal trainer and people to keep you accountable, it's still up to you to make those changes consistently. So one thing I want you to let go of right off the bat here, there is no perfect plan. And so if you are here searching for that next set of perfect meal plans and the recipes that you're never going to get sick of and the workouts that don't make you sweat and don't make you work hard, guess what? They do not exist. So you can stop looking for those. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to do it messy. The actions that you take are not going to be perfect. What you can accomplish and feel good about today may not be possible tomorrow or the next day or the following day. You may be too tired. There may be other things going on. So plan to take imperfect actions. That is the biggest thing really that you can do. There's so many more than 5. Okay. All right. So once we talk about what we're going to talk about, you're going to be able to make sure that your meals are balanced. That is a key logistic part of this. You're also going to be able to eat the family foods that you love, right? So if you've dieted before and you've made a separate meal for yourself while the spouse and the kids eat different stuff, no more of that, right? We can all eat together. Everyone can like it, right? We're also going to talk about how um, the stage of weight loss that you're in, either starting or coming to an end, different periods of your life, can affect things a little bit, and how you need to be open to changing the way that you've dieted in the past, right? Because what may have worked in your 20s, probably not working in your 30s and 40s, right? And beyond. And I want you to be excited about getting started and executing some of these things, because it doesn't need to be torture. That's another big thing here. But first, before we get into those 5 things, I just want to share a little bit more with you. I know I've talked to a lot of you starting clients. I have some former clients here, some graduates in my grad program as well. But if you are new to me, you're just getting introduced, I just want to share a little bit about myself and where I come from, and my history as well. So I am a registered dietitian. I have been so for 6 years, and I've been coaching in the weight loss space for actually about 10 years. I have a preschool daughter. She is 5. She'll be starting kindergarten in the fall somehow. That happened overnight. I do love working out and being active, but I also like that to be functional too. So I like landscaping and gardening and sort of just putting around the yard and making things pretty and all of that stuff. And less recently, I've been a reader quite a bit. We've had a lot less time for that recently as well. But I've come to this place in my life where I'm maintaining my weight. I'm generally pretty happy. I've got a career that I love and a business that I love running, and I love my downtime. But it really wasn't always like that. And I think that's something that you guys need to know is it's possible to bring yourself from a very dark place, right? Insecure, inactive, depressed. I was definitely overweight in that. And I was able to overcome that, right? So essentially, I was the way that many clients start and come to me. I was ready for a change. I was unhappy in the life that I was living, and I really had no idea how to go about fixing that. I wish I had a coach when I went through it, and I wish there are some things that had gone differently in that action as well. I had really wasted a lot of time on these quick fixes and things that ultimately had no backbone. And I wish that I could say that I lost the weight once and I never had to lose it again, but that is not my story. But all that hard work, all the struggle that I went through, all that failure has led me exactly here. And I want you guys to remember that as well, is where you are today and the action that you took, just hitting play on this webinar or this recording, it has brought you exactly where you need to be, right? So I went to school to become a dietitian after I was able to strugglingly figure it out for myself somewhat. I learned a lot about how not to diet. Yes, you can lose weight, but it doesn't mean that you're supporting your health in the process either. I've done that for sure. And I've become the coach and the role model that I never really had here as well. And that's why it's my goal to be here for as many people as I can, right? Because I know how difficult it is. And I want to help them make the changes and avoid a lot of the headaches and the pitfalls that I did. A lot of time wasted and a lot of energy expelled from the clients that I've worked with in the past. And just things that I've learned along the way, because people are so different and react differently to situations. I've really learned a lot about how different people can use the same information and create a lifestyle that they don't have to escape from. So now that you have some sort of background on me and you can understand a little bit about where I'm coming from and why I care, right? Let's get into these 5 things that you really need to put in place to lose the weight, keep it off, and hopefully never have to come to a webinar like this ever again, right? Okay, so step 1, talked a lot about mindset, so we're going to really begin with that. People really like to talk about motivation when it comes to making these changes. So, if you're feeling really motivated, you're going to change up your diet, you're going to be exercising every day, you're going to go to the gym, and all that stuff. But we know historically that motivation is fleeting and it can really come and go without warning. Even though over the course of the day, you could be motivated first thing in the morning. You're like, I'm going to go to the gym when I get out of work today. And then by the time that actually occurs, you don't go, right? So to make consistent progress toward weight loss, you have to look within for that internal drive, that one thing that will resolve you to keep pushing toward that goal each day, regardless of your motivation, right? So when you say, I don't want to, do you just not do it? Or do you push yourself to do it? That is that internal drive when you're pushing yourself to do that. So you'll continue cycling through these short periods of motivation and probably a longer break in between, making it impossible to consistently lose weight if you do not get this part right. So don't gloss over here and say, I'm just here for the meal plans and for the diet advice and all of that. You'll continue spending a lot of money and a lot of time and wasting a lot of your efforts on these useless stuff if you're not getting this part right. So please pay attention, okay? You're probably also going to continue stacking those dieting failures as well. And ultimately, you're going to get to a point in your life where you're like, you know what? This is just not possible. This is just going to have to be good enough, right? So identifying reasons why you want to do something, why you want to lose the weight, why you want to reach a fitness goal, whatever, is the most important thing. And it has to be something that resonates with you. I've talked to so many women about, why are we having this conversation, right? And they're like, well, my doctor did my lab work and my cholesterol is really high and he suggested losing weight. My family members are concerned about me. My friend is losing weight and she suggested I do something as well. Those are external motivators. Those are the concerns of others that may or may not resonate with you. Yes, you may care that others care, which is good, but inherently it's not going to be the thing that is going to make you take action, okay? So your fire, finding this fire, helps to drive that internal motivation to make those changes, even on the days that the motivation isn't there, okay? All right, so when you're able to find this fire, and there may be a lot of different reasons that add up to this fire that you're stoking, you're going to be able to start making the right choices more automatically, right? Healthy eating isn't going to feel like such of a chore anymore. It's going to be something that is a means to an end, and you may actually start to enjoy some of the foods that you're eating too. Same thing with exercise and getting movement in. And you're going to actually be able to make consistent progress without feeling like you're deprived or that you're missing out. And then you become resentful of diets as well. And the biggest thing here is you're going to be able, with some training, to work past the excuses, right? It's very easy to say, I don't want to, and let that be the end of it. It's very easy to come up with excuses and all of these reasons why, just on a daily basis, why you shouldn't be making the right decisions, okay? And if you have the right motivation, you're going to be able to do that. So how do we do that? Okay. I've got a little exercise for you to do. And if you are watching on replay, feel free to pause and take a little extra time with this. But I highly recommend taking pen to paper here and writing out exactly what it is that you are here for, right? What is the number one reason that you specifically want to lose weight? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel energetic? Do you want to be running around with your kids? Do you not want to be huffing and puffing up the stairs? Things like that. And on the other side of that, it's what feelings do you want to escape from? If you're feeling depressed and anxious and sluggish and tired and all of those things, sometimes initially those are better reasons, things that you want to escape from that are more of a driver for that success. Okay. All right, so like I said, take some time. If you're watching on replay, pause and go ahead and answer those questions. You'll be glad you did. This is a big piece here. And then we're going to do a little bit of a visualization as well. So this can be something that you got to just sit and close your eyes and sort of meditate on, or if you wanted to do some journaling exercises on this as well, this is another big one. And this is one that we do quite a bit with program members as well. Not just once, several times, right? And it's really just visualizing the person that you'd like to become. And many of you have probably daydreamed about this in the past. You have this idea sort of in your head. So this is a chance to just get a little more clarity on that, okay? So we go physical, but we also go mental with this as well. So thinking about how you would look when you reach your ideal weight. Maybe there are parts of your body that you're not comfortable with and you're looking to feel more comfortable in those areas. But also just thinking about how you're going to feel I don't know, can be mentally, like your confidence level, how you carry yourself, how you present yourself. But it's also a physical thing, like, having the amount of energy and reducing things like, gas and bloating and digestive upset and those kinds of things that all really do shift when you're making the right choices and eating well and exercising and all of that. And then the second part of this, once you kind of have a good version of that person and what they would like to look like, and absolutely take a lot of time on this. Think about then what you would be doing as that person. So, not just like the habits that got you there. Yes, maybe you work out a little bit harder, you've been a little more disciplined with eating habits and things as you were losing, but at your ideal weight, what kind of things are you doing to maintain that? What things have maybe you've been putting off? Maybe you haven't had the confidence to do them. Maybe you're someone that like played tennis when you were young, gained a bunch of weight, didn't feel comfortable about that, certainly couldn't run after the ball and all of that. Maybe you see yourself getting back to that, something that you had in the past, or maybe it's something that you've always wanted to do and just never were able to. And so what is that person doing every day? Are they sitting on the couch after work and just binging on chips? Likely not, right? Maybe you're going for walks after dinner, or you're getting up early and doing that. And what kind of goals would you have for yourself? And that can be, finally getting the career that you wanted, starting a business, it can be really in other aspects of your life as well. So think about this beyond just the health and the physical realm of this too. And of course, offer yourself more time on this exercise, pause the video, go through that. All right, but here's where you might get stuck and where I've seen people get stuck before. It's thinking that this is just a one-time thing that you can do as you get started, get motivated, and that's going to be that. It's not all you need. This is something that's an ongoing thing. Changing your mindset and building strong relationships with doing new things requires exercise, mental exercise. And so this is something that you need to be doing regularly. And we need to think about how to stoke that fire, right? So maybe your initial reasons for doing something quickly get overshadowed by new and more important reasons. It's important to think about this on a regular basis, especially if you feel like you're losing motivation. It's very possible that the things that initially felt important to you at some certain point do not anymore. And so continuing to explore what is going to give you that biggest boost of that internal motivation is really helpful. And here's where you may also get stuck, is letting these obstacles get in your way and continuing to let them just act like the water and dousing out your motivation, right? There's lots of things that come up, well, often very unexpected things along the way that very easily derail you. So it's important to continue stoking this fire so that despite all of that, you want to continue moving forward, even when things are really hard, because it's going to happen for sure. Okay, so real quick, I just want to tell you about my friend Lauren. I worked with her back in 2021 initially, and we still occasionally work together too. And so what she initially thought we were going to be doing is really just looking at meal plans and getting an exercise routine started, and all of that kind of logistic stuff. And yes, we absolutely did that. That is a very big piece of this too. But she had all the information that she needed. She was confident about it. Every time we spoke, she was like, yeah, I'm going to do that and all of that. But a few months later, she really struggled to have executed anything, right? She had these meal plans, it all looked perfect, and yet none of it was happening. So what we did is we started shifting things to working through the reasons why she wasn't executing. And we really hammered down on that for a long time before it finally clicked. And she found her fire that she had. So for her, it was really this energy suck, right? She was just feeling tired. She was lethargic, at the end of work, she would just kind of collapse, and that would be the end of her day. She didn't want to do anything else. Weekends, she felt like she was just sleeping in and resting and relaxing, and really she wasn't enjoying her life at all. And she was so done with that. She was tired of shopping at the big girl clothes store. She just wanted to be able to go to like a farmer's market and get things off the rack that she saw on there. And she was like not happy to admit that one to me because she felt like it was just like so superficial and like, oh, I just want to wear the dresses and the pretty things and all of that. But it was what gave her that sense of urgency to move forward and go forward. So no matter what your reasons are, what your motivations are, it doesn't matter. This is a very personal thing, and whatever is going to drive you is something that you need to focus on. So don't feel like, oh, I have to be healthy and I have to do all these things. If you don't really care about that and you don't really have any vision of what the future could bring for that, it's not going to be very motivating. So it's okay. So once you have this strong sense of why, it enables you to move forward. And for her, after that initial 3-month period where nothing really happened, she was able to lose about 30 pounds over the course of 6 months. And it really, for her, became down to just this block that she had in the execution. Yes, the logistic things did work, but only if you can take the action. Okay. So the second mindset piece to this, and this is something that I spent a lot of time adjusting in my presentation for today, is key number 2, and that is your commitment. Okay. And I'm sure you've all had this before. I cannot stress this enough. In order to follow through on any of the logistic stuffs that you have, which we're going to talk about next, you have to absolutely commit yourself to the goal. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about a personal trainer that I met, and her story and her words were kind of shocking to me. So she's a mom of 3. She runs a multi-million-dollar business. She trains clients every day. She trains for herself just about every day as well. She's in fantastic shape, as you can imagine. And she's one of those people that you just look at and say, she was like born for this. This is just who she is. You know, this is something that looks easy for her, right? But what shocked me was what she said next. Okay. So she said, you know, I have not ever felt like exercising ever, right? Not one workout. But so like, that's what exactly? But she had that fire and she committed herself. Her health was really important to her. She had a lot of family history of medical issues and she didn't want to see herself going down that same road. She made a career out of this. And, you know, we have that in common is, you know, one of the reasons I became a dietitian is to stay focused on good health and make sure that I'm staying on track for myself as well here. But in terms of her career, she wanted to be that role model for her clients. And that was important to her to be that person and be that role model for her clients. And so she committed herself to that every day. She was doing the things, she was reaping the rewards. You know, she noticed obviously feeling better day to day when she was doing the exercise and all of that. But every day she would wake up and a little part of her said, you know, we could just skip it today. It's okay. But she didn't, right? And now she owns a multi-million-dollar business. She helps women do that stuff every day as well. And that is what we call commitment. Okay. So if you are committed, this is going to be something that's going to help you push past the I don't want to's that exist every step of the way. I lost the majority of my weight about 15 years ago, and I still have the I don't want to's on a regular basis. So don't expect them to just magically disappear at any given point, right? So we need to set a goal and we have to have a simple plan to reach it. Simple being the operative word there, okay? So once you have that plan, your day-to-day decisions have to be aligned with your goal. I'd say most of the time, right? So 85, 90% of the time, the things that you're deciding on should be in line with your goal. That is commitment right there. So what are you choosing to eat? What are you moving? How are you moving your body every day? What attitude are you carrying around these activities? Are you begrudgingly making these decisions, or are you saying, you know what, I have the opportunity to do this today, right? And this is what I'm going to choose for myself today. Now, there's a really fine balance between making those changes and doing what's necessary, and really transforming those areas of your life that need to transform, and sacrificing yourself, right? So we really have to draw the line between becoming a person you do not want to become and foregoing family time and all of the other things that are important to you. We have to find a way to bridge that gap and mold those things together. That's a very important piece of this too. So here's how to get committed. Okay. So we need to get really, really, really insanely clear on that big picture goal. So key one, right? Getting that fire going, figuring out what it is you want, working through those visualizations is really helpful. But once you have that, we can start planning for what needs to be happening every single day, daily, weekly. What kind of goals are you setting for yourself that you can take action on? And that's really the big thing here, is things that you can do, right? It's not just hoping and having this mindset work being done behind the scenes. It's not going to supplement for that action, right? So you may have heard of SMART goals before. I do like this system for helping to set these goals as well. So just a quick rundown of them. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Okay, so specific, time, place, exactly where you want to be, what we want to be doing, etc. Measurable. If your goal is specific enough, you're going to have a way to measure it. So, for example, you could say, I'm going to go out for a walk at least 3 times during the week, first thing in the morning before the day gets started, right? And if it's that specific at the end of the week, you can say you either did it or you didn't, right? You can measure how well you did with that. Achievable, making sure that the goal is not too far out of reach for your current space. So saying something like, I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months. Not possible, sorry. Unless you're really taking your health out of the consideration here. Relevant, are the actions that you're doing actually moving the needle forward, right? So you can be doing things, you can be checking things off, feeling really good about it, but making no progress, right? Timely, making sure there's a date, right? So by a certain date, you're setting up an exercise schedule for 3 times a week. And at the end of the month, you can say, you can measure that. Did I get 12 in 4 weeks times 3 classes? 12, right? And having a specific reward for yourself at the end of that. I think that is really important. This can be a weight goal as well. I do hesitate on that a little bit though, because sometimes your body is not cooperating with the way things are going. It takes a little bit of wiggle room to get in a good groove. You hit plateaus along the way. And so having a weight goal tied to this is sometimes a little disheartening if you're not reaching it, but you're still doing all the other things. So try to think about something that is very actionable. You can't take action on losing weight, but you can take action on the meals you're choosing, the exercises that you're choosing and things like that. And weight loss is more the result of those things, if that makes sense. But SMART goals can be kind of tricky, especially when it comes to the achievable and relevant side of things. And this is really where expertise comes into play, right? So like I said, I've been doing this for years. I did it for myself. I'm working with clients every day on these things. And I know that people tend to aim high and set very unrealistic expectations for themselves, especially when there are diets being promoted out there that, oh, you can lose 10 pounds this week and all this crazy stuff. And it just feels like that's possible when, if you're doing this in a sustainable and reasonable way, may not be sustainable or may not be reasonable and realistic and achievable. Okay. So you have to have that backbone of, okay, Jackie's telling me this is probably unrealistic, right? Not achievable in this time frame. And so if you're setting your goals too high and you're failing, that is just going to create frustration and ultimately giving up as well. And then the other big one really just comes down to logistics and the relevance of the goals that you're setting up. Okay. So if your actions, things that you're doing on a daily or weekly basis, aren't actually doing anything for you, you're not seeing the results, you lose the motivation, right? But you don't know that until you know that, right? But when you're in that state of having lost the motivation, it can be very hard to pick yourself out of that. And then the other thing is not rewarding yourself here. So there's a lot of psychology behind successful behavior change. And so this is sort of an overarching thing going on in the background of my program at any given time. So you either need to truly love the changes that you're making and say, I don't know why I wasn't doing this the whole time. If you're, eating healthier foods and exercising, you may not feel that way. Okay. Or there has to be a secondary reward behind it. So something like setting up a benchmark for yourself, like, after I do a full month of following through on my eating plan and my exercise goals, and I've reached that, I'm going to treat myself to a spa day or to a manicure or to shopping for a new outfit or something like that. If you have this reward behind it, it's going to make it more exciting, right? There's something to look forward to there. And once you actually reach that goal, you're going to feel so much better having accomplished that as well. All right. I think this is actually key number 4 since I did some rearranging. Maybe not. So key number 3, let's get into some of the logistics of this. Okay. So first and foremost, there is no perfect diet. I'd say every woman that enters my program leaves with a completely different set of things that are working for them than the woman next to them, right? And so just some basic things that you need to consider as you're shaping what it is you're going to be eating on a regular basis. They have to be foods that you like, right? So making the same boiled chicken and broccoli and rice with no seasonings and no salt, no nothing, is not going to last very long. So you have to actually like the foods that you like. There has to be some variety there. See so many people just like making that one meal for the entire week and suffering through it until Friday, and they just want to gag eating it, right? That's not helpful. Like I said this before too, no double cooking meal. So you're not making something separate for yourself versus the family. You're going to feel resentful that they're eating something that you want to be eating while you're eating the boiled chicken. And you're wasting a whole lot of your time and probably a lot of money doubling up on your grocery bill too. And we don't need to be complicated with recipes. Having all of these things and all these substitutions and crazy ingredients is not helpful, especially when it comes to budget. And just having so many things in your cabinet, you're going to be wasting things. You're buying ingredients for one recipe. It doesn't make any sense. So we got to keep it really simple. Recipes should be very simple. Honestly, I have a book like this thick full of recipes that I never look at, right? That is just how I roll. I don't operate with recipes. I look at them to get a general gist of the idea of what new flavors could look like, but ultimately I'm not using a lot of recipes. So once you're able to kind of compile all of that together, it's going to be possible to eat in a calorie deficit without feeling starved. And that's really the goal. Many diets are just like, you just have to power through it and just be hungry and all of that. It's all for the greater good. That is complete crap. Sorry. That is not how I operate. That is not how anyone should operate. You should be able to enjoy a variety of foods. You should be able to look forward to your next meal without feeling like you're obsessing over it and like you're trying to manipulate every little calorie that you are trying to get out of that. Doesn't make sense. We also want to make sure that time is of the essence. None of us have time to be spending hours in the kitchen, maybe once in a while, but ultimately never. And if you're doing this all right, you should be energized. You should be feeling like you can handle a workout. You should be feeling good. You shouldn't have that afternoon crash, that 2:30 crash where you just want to have another coffee or a nap, right? And those are some really immediate benefits that you start to see when you're getting this right. But if you're not, basically all the opposite is true. You're not going to be feeling satisfied with the meals. You're going to be wasting a lot of time prepping and cooking. It's going to cause a lot more stress. And ultimately, it's not going to be something that you're going to stick to long term. You may be able to stay within a calorie goal for a couple of days and then ultimately rebound and all of these other things. Okay. So I want to share a little bit about the basic 101 strategies here for getting this right. So ultimately, we want to be eating a lot of protein and a lot of fiber, things that are keeping us full and satisfied between meals so that we can be eating a little bit less, all of that. So you can really dive down into the realm of counting macros and all this other stuff. But what can be a really great start and just a really good jumping off point for more is starting with this basic plating. Okay. So take any meal that you've ever eaten and plate it this way, and it's going to be doing a lot of different things for you. So aiming for half of a plate of non-starchy veggies. So your salad greens, broccoli, asparagus, that kind of stuff. And then simply making less room on your plate for the heavier items, your carbs and your proteins. And that is going to naturally reduce the amount of calories at any meal that you're going to have. Okay. And that right there alone can be really powerful in terms of getting portion control, and really just starting this process off right. You may not be able to hit a calorie deficit this way just yet, but you may be able to, and this may be something to get you by for a little bit of time here. Other things you can do too, just making sure that you're cooking based on what you're actually craving so that you're always looking forward to it. And if you're maintaining that balance there, and I'll give you an example, you're going to be able to have things like your macaroni and cheese, your ribs on the grill, whatever it happens to be, things that you are actually craving and in the mood for. But if you're balancing it and making sure you've got a lot of veggies that offset that and fill you up without so many calories, that's really going to help you. Even if you're not counting calories, it's going to naturally reduce how much you're eating. I also want you to make room for things that you like in the sweets department, right? It is ice cream season, so you better be having a little bit of ice cream in here, enjoying these things in moderation, because ultimately, if you're resentful, if you're missing out on things, that is a plan that is never going to be sustainable, okay? If you do want a quick win on this kind of stuff, reducing the processed foods right off the bat, reducing sodium in the diet is going to help you lose a quick 3 to 5 pounds right off the bat as well. If you have questions about that, I think I have a recipe guide that goes along those lines too, so let me know. But here's where you might get stuck. Is your preconceived notions are a big one. So, healthy eating does not have to be complicated. People think they got it, but if you don't already know what healthy eating looks like, or you have your own idea for what that is, it's going to limit you, right? So you already know what healthy eating looks like, but if you knew that the entire time, why aren't you doing it is the big question, right? So if that's the idea that you have in your head, you're probably not going to take time to try out new foods and new balancing ideas and eating patterns to kind of figure out what's going to work better for you. Obviously, what you've been doing has not been working 100%, right? And ultimately, if you're assuming that you need to be cutting out things like the ice cream and the mac and cheese and all of that, you're going to feel like a failure when you include those things. And it's going to feel really weird as you begin that, because it feels forbidden. It feels like, how could I possibly eat this without gaining weight, right? But you can. And so you need to have that mindset shift to make that work for you. And ultimately, this balance idea can get you somewhere, right? But ultimately, if you are eating a little bit better, you're balancing things a little bit better, it doesn't mean that you're hitting a calorie deficit. You have to be burning off more calories than you're eating in order to lose body fat. That's the science behind it. And so we can definitely be eating better. You could be getting healthier in a lot of different ways, but ultimately still holding on to that excess weight. And I'll use myself as that own success story here. And so a pattern that I carried for a long time after I initially lost about 50 pounds is I'd have these yearly swings. And here in New England, we see big seasonal shifts in temperature and light, and that really does affect a lot of things. That's actually one thing we talk about quite a bit in the program is like, all right, what time of year are we at? How are we going to manage what changes are coming up in the next few months, right? Especially around fall, winter, you got holidays in there as well. It's like the diet gauntlet, right? But anyway, so I'd have this really big swing in my weight. 15 pounds is quite a bit, right? So I would diet, I would fall off, ultimately being in that yo-yo pattern that we're trying to eliminate here. It's very common, right? And it really wasn't until I moderated my diet and made sure that I was fitting in the things that I liked. I love Kraft macaroni and cheese. I love homemade macaroni and cheese. I like when people make macaroni and cheese for me. I get it at restaurants. And I was trying to eliminate that. And then so what would happen is I would want it so much and put this thing up on a pedestal that I would overdo it, right? And then I would just kind of go off the deep end for a little while, then rein it back in and all of this yo-yoing, right? And that is very common, right? But once I started uncomfortably allowing these things in smaller doses into my diet, it sort of like lost its appeal. Not so much because I still love it, but I know that if I can have it whenever I want, that I don't need to just eat the entire pot of it in one sitting, which makes you sick, by the way, right? And so, in time with this shift in my mindset, I was much more able to maintain my weight. So now it's like up and down within 5 pounds at any given time, which is essentially just maintaining weight. And then when I am up a little bit, I don't have to make any drastic changes in order to see that number edge back down. And that really right there is the food freedom that I want everybody to have, right? So final keynote here on this one is if you want to lose and maintain your ideal weight, you have to have it be a sustainable diet from the start. Don't go with a strict fad diet just to get off the pounds. Oh my God, how many times do I hear that? But here's what happens. You may cut for a little bit. You may lose 10 or 15 pounds, but it's coming right back as soon as you start a sustainable diet, right? So sustainable from the start, do the hard work, do the things that you know you need to do. Don't take the shortcuts. And sooner than later, you're going to be at an enjoyable and guilt-free existence, which wouldn't that be lovely? All right, let's talk a little more logistics with exercise. So we do have to think about losing weight really as an entire lifestyle approach, right? So yes, a lot of this is calories in, calories out. You need to be burning off more, which for most people, if you're looking for a little more wiggle room in your diet, adding in exercise is a great way to ensure that you are burning off more. And that means you can eat a little bit more as well and have a little bit more freedom incorporating the mac and cheese, the cocktails, the sweets, things like that. Okay. So can you not exercise? Sure. Yeah. And I've had clients in the past with, just coming off knee surgery, who get injured in the process. Not because of the program, but just because of other things, right? So let's not say that. There are ways that you need to adjust when things like that do happen, when you cannot exercise. But if you are physically able to, and you're at least a little bit willing to incorporate this, it's going to make it much easier for you, okay? So the key really here is to find exercises that feel good, the ones that curb your hunger and make the most of your time. So you're not dilly-dallying around spending an hour at the gym accomplishing nothing. You're doing quick things that can be done in 15, 20 minutes on a regular basis are going to be much better than spending an hour at the gym once a week, right? And really the idea here is consistency too, okay? So why is exercise so vital? We know that we are burning some calories here, but it's probably not as much as you think. So that's only a secondary sort of thing. But here's the thing. Your body will burn more fat at rest to support greater strength and muscle tone. So that means even if you're walking and you're building up your leg muscles, if you're incorporating strength training for other areas as well and really getting a balanced program going there, you're going to be building lean muscle mass, which not only is toning you and making you look different and carry yourself differently, it costs more calories to maintain your good muscle than it is to maintain fat, right? Because fat is there for storage. It really doesn't take much to support. So if you are supporting greater muscles, your base metabolic rate increases. And at some point, you're burning off more calories sleeping, which is, yes, that's perfect. Other things that are going to help your mindset. You get a boost of dopamine with exercise as well. It's reducing stress, which may also help to curb stress eating and things like that as well. Studies are showing 15 to 20 minutes of aerobic exercise, even just a quick brisk walk outside, greatly reduces stress and blood pressure, which is probably going to also affect your eating habits later in the day. The right exercises are going to also curb your hunger. You're not going to feel as hungry afterwards, and you're going to have the ability to eat less without really even doing anything, which is amazing, right? The opposite is true if you're doing the wrong things. So there are certain exercises that release more hunger hormones, going really high intensity, and it's going to really make it more difficult on the back end after you're exercising to control yourself hunger-wise. If you're going too hard as well, which we tend to go gung-ho when we're trying something new, you're going to feel sore, tired, and you're not going to enjoy fitting exercise into your day because you know it's going to make you feel sore and tired. And all of that leads to not being able to include it consistently enough to lose the weight. So choose consistency first. I don't care that you spend an hour at the gym doing whatever you do. That's fine. If you're too sore to continue that, it's worthless, right? So choose exercises that you enjoy so the movement doesn't feel like work. So I gave the example of maybe your goal is to get back to playing tennis. So maybe you start by playing pickleball, which is tiny court, essentially the same sort of game, but it may be more enjoyable sort of exercise for you. So think about things that you used to do that you could get back to, things that you've always thought you would love to do, things that looked really intriguing to you, and just explore what is possible in there as well, and find things that you really do enjoy. For me, walking is a really big one. I find it very therapeutic. It's also sort of like a thinking slash personal therapy session when I'm walking as well. So that's something that I do include on a regular basis. I also really love challenging my muscles too. So I do some weight training as well. Second part of this is making sure you don't overwork yourself and starting where you are. So if you have no experience in weight training, if you see yourself running, but you are a couch potato, you have to choose where you are first. So getting out for a walk, maybe doing some basic lightweight training, even hiring a personal trainer and saying, all right, this is where I am. How do I build up my strength a little bit over time? That can be a really good use of your resources there. And I think variety is important too, because even like if I walk for 4 or 5 days in a row, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that again. So variety can look like, going out for walks and hikes in different places if that's really your jam and that's what you want to do. Could be just finding different types of exercises and ways to utilize that energy too. And then let's talk a little bit about life stage too. So I don't work with anyone under 30 for a reason, because it's very easy to lose weight in your 20s. So I'll just put that out there. So if you are in the 20 to 35 range, just making small changes to your diet and doing just basic cardio, high intensity cardio works really well in your 20s, especially early 20s. And the weight tends to come off really easily, but that's fine. Like you still have issues with consistency and doing that on a regular schedule and all of that. But I think where we really struggle as women is 35 and older. So 35 up through perimenopause, right before you're about to hit menopause, a lot of things shift hormonally that change the way that your body utilizes energy. So our muscle mass after age 35 starts to decrease. Oh God, I think it's 5% every year if you're not maintaining that. If you're not actively maintaining your muscle mass or building your muscle mass, you're losing it. So use it or lose it sort of situation. But as I said before, if your muscle mass is decreasing, your body doesn't have as much to support. And so therefore it's burning less calories. And so you're in this situation where you're probably also higher stress dealing with kids and career and midlife sort of stuff. You're probably eating more and you're burning less. And this is where a lot of people tend to start to gain weight, right? High intensity cardio at this stage and later also really triggers hunger hormones too. So you may be doing, HIIT training and things like that, but overcompensating with food later and sort of offsetting what you burned in those cases too. So definitely a shift that many women do need to make at this stage in their life. So lighter cardio mixed with basic weight training, even just, sit-ups, push-ups, that kind of stuff, can really make a big difference for just maintaining your muscle mass, even if you're not looking to gain. Okay. Menopause, you're even slipping further into that reduction of estrogen, which is reducing your muscle mass. So we really do want to focus on that strength training. And then later in life, we do want to start really incorporating, if you hadn't already been, flexibility and mobility training as well. So the older you get, the more likely you are for having falls and things like that. And we're talking like later stage. And if you've been taking good care of yourself along the way, this could be very late stage too. But older women do fall. Bone mass becomes an issue at that age as well. Same thing follows that muscle trend that I was telling you about. And it becomes much more damaging if you do have an accident, stuff like that. So if you can maintain flexibility, you can maintain mobility, it greatly reduces your risks of having those sorts of accidents to begin with. So wherever you are in life, just some things to consider in terms of what you're putting together for your exercise program. Oh, we're not going back here. Okay, and then let's talk a little bit about routine. So incorporating these SMART goals that we were talking about before. So if you can schedule something that is reasonable and can help you to stay accountable, that's going to be really helpful. A lot of women do really well having like a regular class schedule. So if you join a class and you know what happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's much easier for you to commit because there is a very specific time. Also, probably because you paid money for it as well. So you can think about how that's going to fit into that mental aspect of that. And then if you feel like the classes in the specific periods are sort of inconsistent, you can also work on just reducing the amount of sedentary time that you have every day. So if you have a desk job, you can find ways to take short exercise breaks, even 5 minutes outside, or 5 minutes walking around your building if you're at work makes the big difference over the course of the day. I'm a big fan of scheduling, so put it in the calendar. You're much less likely to ignore a calendar reminder if it's in your phone, that kind of stuff. And then remember to check in monthly, set new goals for yourself, reward yourself as well for following through. And if you're not following through, consider it a lesson, right? So why didn't you follow through? Was it really just a mindset thing? Is that something you need to work on? Or was the goal too lofty and you just didn't have the time logistically? What was it? Dig into that. Don't let the failure just ride. Try to learn something from it and plan differently for the next 30-day period. Okay. And really just getting a quick win to get you started. Commit to something really small, even if it's only a 15-minute walk every day. All of that stuff is helping you to gain momentum in this process. And that is very important as well. All right, things that you're going to do to get stuck and you probably have already experienced. Inconsistency, assuming cardio is all you need, and feeling like weight training is going to make you bulky. It is really just to maintain what you got going on. It's not there to make you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? Sherry, perfect example of that. This weight loss strategy in time. She was able to lose a lot of weight in her 20s. So she would like yo-yo back and forth and she knew exactly what she needed to do. But she had hit menopause, or she was in pre-menopause, and she had tried a lot to try to lean up. So she was really hitting hard on the cardio. She was spending at least 60 minutes on the treadmill or the elliptical every single day. And the weight was not coming off. And in fact, if she skipped a few days, she feel like she would just like gain 5 pounds overnight. She couldn't understand why this was happening, right? Because it had worked before for her before. Why not now? Okay. So what we did for her is we actually lightened up her cardio routine and took some of that time that she was spending on a daily basis and added in a little bit of strength training. So she was actually spending less time working out, but she changed what she was doing. And she saw that 10-pound drop and she was able to get down to her pre-baby weight, which was kind of miraculous for her. And that was within about a year or so. So she was very close to her ideal weight to begin with. So I think the more weight you have to lose, the easier it is initially. But once you start getting back to that 10 or 15 pounds towards your goal, you have to really rethink strategy. You have to be very consistent and get that right. So it did take a little bit longer. It took about a year for that to happen. But with that consistent effort, it did pay off. All right, I know we are running a little short on time, and I shortened it, believe it or not. So I like to talk to you guys, and if you're just meeting me, just fair warning, right? So key number 5 is really the support aspect of this, right? So we're talking about getting that internal motivation, setting up that commitment to yourself, getting that logistic stuff right. You know, there's tons of ideas for exercise. There's tons of ideas for how you could diet. There's no right or wrong way to do this. But I think having so many options is actually very disheartening, right? You don't know exactly what's going to work for you. Anything could possibly work, and it can be very overwhelming, and people just tend to like jump from one thing to the next without giving anything a real shot to work, right? So having the support to help make these decisions and to help you stay true to the decisions that you've been making, help with the accountability of things, is going to be a major, major piece of making this work for you. So my primary job as a coach and as a dietitian is to help you figure out what that diet should look like, right? So on the back end, what I'm doing is helping to make sure that any changes that you're making, any recipes that I'm recommending, any of that kind of stuff, it all has your overall health in mind. So yes, we want to be in a calorie deficit, but we don't want to see your health take a backslide in the meantime as well. And these are things that are a lot of blind spots to people, right? So you don't know what you don't know when it comes, especially when it comes to nutrition. And so this is really good to just streamline the process, make sure that you're on the right track. It gives you the confidence to know that, all right, I had a dietitian work on this plan for me. She's watching what I'm doing. We're looking at things over this 12-week period. And I know that I have that under wraps. So we're good there. That helps with the motivation and that drive as well. But there's these mindset issues that are really the bigger thing, right? So we cannot execute any of that logistics until we get this mindset piece right. So what we're doing is really working you up, right? We're getting you lit up. We're getting you excited about things. I'm asking you these hard questions about what it actually is that you want. How are you going to do that? What are your excuses, and how are we going to move past that stuff? That is all helping you level up and become the person mentally that you need to be so that you can execute. Okay. And really the biggest thing of working with a coach is just leveraging the time and the expertise that I have already done, right? I've already wasted a lot of time doing this for myself. I've learned a lot along the way. I've helped a lot of other women do the same thing. And so I can help you move past that stuff without making the same mistakes, without wasting so much time. And yes, there are lessons that you need to learn on your own. However, I can still make it harder for you. So just some basic things we're helping with, help setting your SMART goals and what you want to be doing on a weekly basis and making sure that they are moving the needle for you. We do a lot with meal planning guidance. We do send out recipes as well. But we're really just trying to simplify the cooking and planning process for you. We're also doing the consistent exercise program and helping you progress with that along the way as well, and offering suggestions and things like that too. And I want to tell you that no one who has ever lost weight and consistently kept it off, myself included, never got there alone. Okay. There was always some other sort of external force that was helping with that. I did in my later years with this have a lot of mentors along the way. Initially, I did not, and there's a night and day difference between what I accomplished on my own and what I accomplished with the help of a mentor, right? And that goes for my weight loss, my health, business, relationships, all of these other things. If you don't have that backbone and that person to bounce ideas off of and go to when you're feeling like you're just at your wit's end, ready to give up, those are the people that can pull you out of that and help you see beyond what you're stuck in at the moment. It's very hard to see solutions to things when you're emotionally charged and you just do not see a way out. But someone outside of yourself can, and that's really where having that mentorship can really help. So what else we're doing? We're talking through these obstacles, logic, right? So you don't want to exercise first thing in the morning. Why or why not? When can we put this in then? Like just really working through that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's like really simple things. What's a good example? Oh, I had someone tell me that he didn't want to, this was back when I was working more with men as well. He didn't have time to make breakfast in the morning, but he loved eggs because they made him feel really full. And it was just a matter of saying, well, how about if you try hard-boiled eggs? You make a big batch on the weekend to have for a few days and just have those ready to go. And it was like the simplest thing, right? And he felt kind of stupid. He's like, why didn't I think that? Well, that's why, because you're inside the problem and I am outside the problem, and just having those little things can really help. We're also really just here for the wins too, right? So when you have a little celebration of, yes, you hit your monthly goal, you lost another pound, whatever it happens to be, sometimes you have, if the people around you aren't as excited as you, it can be like, wah, wah, that's kind of, not very exciting, but I'm here rooting you on, right? You lost 5 pounds. That's absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to see what exactly you accomplish after this. And really keeping you accountable when things aren't going so well. It's like, well, Why haven't you made the progress? What has been going on? Have you been able to follow through consistently? Why or why not? Let's talk through that and really just help to make it simple so that you can find your next path to success. So I want to be a great mentor as well. So mediocre is not where I like to be. And really that person, a great mentor, is really helping you push past all of that negativity, all of those things that are keeping you stuck where you are in those moments when you're feeling tapped out. We all have them. And it's important how you take action in those moments is really going to make or break your success here. All right. So what I don't want you to be doing is wasting a lot of time guessing about how to get results and jumping from one bad diet to another, right? There's a lot of info out there. It's very hard to streamline what is good for you. And you're going to get that shiny thing syndrome. You're going to be jumping from one thing to the next. Usually means you're also wasting a lot of money, especially on these $39.95 cookie cutter meal plans that aren't made for you, right? We're talking customization here and working with what you actually need for your logistical weight loss, but also what's going to work well with your family and your taste preferences and all of that stuff as well. And really, that's all just going to build more frustration and more anxiety and uncertainty around your results. And it's going to make it really hard to follow through. You're like, well, I don't know if this is going to work anyway. So you know what? I might just start next week. And then you never do, right? It happens all the time. So I don't want you to waste time, money, and not get to your goal ultimately either. Okay. So I know we're just out of time. Today, I promise the one thing that will allow you to lose the weight and keep it off so you don't have to diet. What is that one thing that's overarching over all of this is sustainability. We want to make sure that everything we're putting into place is something that you can just do forever. Okay. We talked a little bit about exercise. We talked about spending less time working out by maximizing what's happening in those times as well. And that's really by spending less time on the cardio, more on weight training and making sure that you're making the most of that time. And we talked a little bit about balancing meals. And like I said, a diet can look any which way, right? Everything is right. Nothing is quite wrong. I mean, certain things are wrong, but it's very possible for you to eat balanced meals and do the same thing as the rest of your family, even if they aren't open to trying new recipes and things like that, so that you can just, continue your regular life and still make progress in that as well. So quick review of everything we need to succeed. We need that internal motivation. We need that commitment, and we need to have the logistics down. So the diet and the exercise piece are still part of this, and having someone in your corner to make sure that all of those pieces and parts are coming together well. All right. So ultimately, in the program that I run, 12-week fully online program, ultimately, I'm looking for people to hit a goal of 20 pounds or more, right? So a lot of women are reaching that, depending on where they're starting, somewhere within the program, by the end of the program, maybe a little bit after. But ultimately, it's the starting point to help you get to that initial goal. So even if your goal is to lose 50 or 100 pounds, getting these logistics and these basic things right to begin with, you're going to take what you've learned, apply it, and be able to continue that going forward. I also do have a grad support program after my 12 weeks as well. So, just to have that continued accountability and, the recipe ideas and that kind of stuff, that just helps to keep you focused on the goal. So if that 20 pounds is perfectly what you need and you can maintain yourself after that, fantastic. But there is more that is necessary for some as well. I also want you ultimately to be able to eat whatever it is you want. And I sincerely mean that, right? So, and all of that leads into being a better representation of yourself. So having more energy, being more present with your family, being confident in your relationships, physically, emotionally, all of that, and really just be able to do all the things that you ever wanted to do. Ultimately, that's what I do this for, because I know for myself, part of that, I could have loved myself at the higher weight. I didn't, but I also know that there was a lot of things that were tied to weight for me that built my confidence, that led me down the road that where I am, so that I can enjoy the life that I have now. Okay. You don't have to lose the weight to be happy, but for a lot of people, it really is tied to confidence issues and motivation and all of these other things. Okay. So Now is the time to choose, right? So you can either continue doing the things you're doing and continue getting the same results that you've been getting, which I'm assuming if you're here are not ideally what you want. Or you can choose a different way to go. You can try something different. You can get different results and find yourself in a completely different place in just a few months. So I want to be here to support you. So whether you decide to work in my program or not, I'm offering you up a 30-minute discovery call. So basically it's the time to just figure out what your goals are, get clear on what the next few months of your life could look like. And if it seems like a good fit, I'll invite you to join the 12-week program as well. And now I'm going to qualify and disqualify some people right off the bat, right? So if you are really committed to doing this right, and by doing the hard work of, diet, exercise, and losing the weight the right way, this is for you, right? If you are just really struggling time-wise and you haven't been able to figure out how to make this work, this is a great program to consider. Maybe you've tried a number of times and you just cannot commit and you have a hard time sticking with something consistently. And if anything else about what we've talked about today has resonated with you, absolutely go ahead and schedule that call. Now, disqualifiers. If you are looking for someone to do the work for you, I'm sorry, that is never going to happen, whether in this program or any other, right? So, this is something that you have to do for yourself. I can coach you along the way. I can make this as easy as possible for you, but you have to at least meet me halfway, okay? So no whiners, complainers, or blamers. You have to be doing the work. If you want to complain about how sore you are after a workout, cool. Other than that, you know that you've earned it at least doing the hard work. And we do not do quick fixes here. So we're not doing cut programs. We're not talking about doing keto, nothing of the sort. We're talking about sustainability here and real lifestyle transformations. It's possible to do this without going crazy, right? And doing drastic things. So it's pretty clear why I'm doing this, I think. It is our duty as people and as women and as mothers and as career women, wherever you find yourself in that spectrum, it's our duty to be the best version of ourselves so that we can serve others, right? A big hang up for a lot of women I work with, especially mothers, is feeling guilty for doing things for yourself. But here's the thing. If you are the best version of yourself, you're giving way more of yourself away, right? You're able to, because you're coming from a place where your cup is full and you're able to give versus trying to just give when you have nothing, no energy, no motivation to give as well. And I really want you to have the same food freedom and not have to think about good versus bad foods and, oh, I'm being good today, bad today. None of that. I'm just here, right? I'm just here and enjoying the food no matter what. And I want that for you too. And I want you to just have that confidence back, it's even just a quick win in terms of, seeing some movement on the scale or a pair of pants fitting differently. Those are all confidence boosters and those play into every single aspect of your life. So if you allow me to support you, I'm going to walk you through all of this, right? 5 steps. It's all basically the cornerstones of my program as is. And a lot is going to happen very quickly, right? So you're going to see a lot of really tangible things within the first few weeks. A big one is really energy. So you're going to start feeling energized, confident, all of that. And when you're not doing the things that you know you need to be doing, I'm going to help to hold you accountable so that you can continue getting those results and really work on those logistics things. And you're not going to be figuring it out by yourself. So what we're doing on a weekly basis is looking at what you're doing, seeing whether it's working or not, and making those changes along the way so that you're not just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing this week. You'll know exactly what you need to be doing. So if you are here live, I'm going to go ahead and put the invitation link in the chat. So you can go ahead and grab that. And if you're watching on replay, the email that this comes in is going to have a link to my calendar. So basically you can choose a time. It's going to say 15 minutes, but I know that I'm booking 30 minutes for the call. So you're in the right place if you hit that. So just find a time that works best for you. Space is limited based on how my calendar fills up. So go ahead and make sure that you're getting this booked. I am going to be offering a special enrollment discount for people that book their discovery call by the end of this week, by Friday this week. So more on that in the email. So you have that. And I want to leave you last, knowing that we went well over our time. So thank you for hanging in there. And thanks again for spending this hour and 15 minutes with me. I hope that you now have a better idea of exactly what you need to put into place. Maybe there's like one key thing that you're like, I'm not doing that at all. Like where something that you can make a change here and do better in that as well. And if part of that is joining a program for that support, I'm absolutely here to help work you through that process. But have a fabulous rest of your day, rest of your evening, whatever time you're watching this. And I hope to see your name on my calendar soon.